Hello. How's it going? Welcome. Why does it seem like it's funky today? That's weird. Hang on a second. Don't mind this. I'm just gonna. There you go. Is that better? There you go. It seemed like a little dusty. I don't know. Hi to those of you watching the recording. How's it going? Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. How is everyone? Hello. Hi, Margarita. Hi, Jody. Hi, Chantal. Nice to see you, sweetie. How are you feeling? Hi, Shakti. Good morning. I should say good afternoon to some of you, like Chantal. Hi, Stephanie. Nice to see you, love. Hi, Cheryl. How's it going? Adriana. Lovely to see you, honey. I will check it out. Definitely. Good. You can never have too much shungite. You should see how much shungite I have in my room right now. I have shungite everywhere. Good morning, Erica. How is everyone today? Did you guys have a good weekend? Let's switch things out. There we go. Can you guys hear me okay? I think I have my mic messed up here. Yeah, it always does that. Hopefully you guys can hear me good now. Hi, Katya. Nice to see you, love. Hello, Cheryl. So how is everyone? Did you guys sleep well last night with all these weird stuff going on? In fact, I'm going to check because we had some solar flares over the weekend. We had quite a lot. And I just got a Schumann text. So the Schumann is also going crazy. Let's see what's going on with the Schumann first since I'm getting texts from it. Oh, okay. That's why it's starting to ramp up this morning, you see? It's been quiet for the weekend on the Schumann. But yeah, the Schumann's acting up right now. I get text notifications if the planet starts doing weird shit. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So we did have some red flares, some X-class flares, some big spikes, not too much on the geomagnetic activity. We had a little bit going on over the weekend. See those spikes there? Those are pretty decent sized. I think I'm still on UK time. I keep going to bed at like 9 o'clock and waking up at 5 a.m., which is so not normal for me. I'm usually an early bird and a night owl. I just don't sleep much. So the last few days, I've been sleeping like a rock. Hi, Jessica. Good morning. Hi, Amanda. You keep hearing metallic sounds, kind of like loud scraping sounds that you're kind of hearing through the neighborhood, because I've also been hearing weird scraping sounds recently. I have a train yard not far from me, so I just keep blaming it on that. Good morning, Karen. Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you, love. The woman who runs the Schumann page says she was hearing music and fans. I was hearing music in the middle of nowhere. I was out doing hiking yesterday, and I heard some sounds, and I was like, where is this music coming from? So it could have been just somebody out in the middle of nowhere making music, but I also thought it was very strange to be hearing music out in the middle of nowhere with nobody around. So who knows? Maybe there's all kinds of strange stuff going on. Good morning, Natalie. Hi, Linza. So yeah, things have been ramping up quite a lot energetically. Have you guys noticed? All kinds of things have been happening. And I really do feel that our abilities seem to be getting amplified almost on a daily basis. Anybody else noticing that? Because almost every day I'm noticing something else, and I'm like, wait a second, I didn't pick that up before. Jessica says, my entire car ride was a high-pitched ring, and I thought it was the music until I asked my guides, and they wanted me to know, and it stopped. That's funny. Sometimes you just have to acknowledge it, and they're like, oh, okay, so you did hear it. Good, we can stop now. Good morning, Leanne. Hi, Kara. Your dreams are getting more vivid, Patty. Nice. I don't normally remember my dreams, probably because I do too much of that. And yeah, I have actually been remembering my dreams as well, which is really strange. All kinds of interesting stuff happening. Good morning, Terry. So yeah, everything has been ramping up recently, and I have noticed quite a bit about certain things being put in our path. And did you guys see my post this morning? We were talking about curses from past lives and contracts and that sort of thing. So I thought we might discuss that a little bit this morning, considering some of you found that really interesting that curses and should say spells that were cast 2,000 years ago could still be a thing today, and they are. They can be just as effective today as they were the day they were cast, which a lot of people are not aware of. So one of my favorite things, when I'm doing the clearings, when I'm doing I think it's like 30 different questions that I ask now that I ask the soul guys to check on the client when I'm doing my clearings. The one that I think excites me the most to clear are the contracts, the past life contracts and the ancestral karmic contracts, because I feel like, the entity attachments, they come and go. You can pick up an entity just about anywhere, the freaking grocery store, the gas station these days. If you're in a low vibe state and you go to pick one up, you can tell almost immediately these days when you have an attachment. In fact, I've got people that message me. They're like, Laura, I know I got one. And sure enough, they do. So you guys are actually starting to notice when you have attachments, which is really amazing, by the way. But, these attachments, they do come and go. And they don't even leave that much. What's the word I'm looking for? They don't leave that much devastation in their wake, considering that many of these beings are just kind of opportunists. They're taking advantage of the situation. So it's kind of like you wouldn't have gotten the attachment in the first place if you weren't in a situation to begin with. And then they take, whatever they can from that situation. But when it comes to curses and spells, especially vows and things that are taken from a past life, these things can still be affecting you. That doll that we saw that we were talking about that was being treated kind of like a voodoo doll 2,000 years ago, they could still be in effect to this day. And so whenever there are contracts, unfortunately, these contracts do not negate themselves. They don't get torn up when you die. In fact, sometimes they even get stronger when you die. So out of all the things that I clear, I must say clearing those contracts is now my favorite. Like whenever I hear a contract, I'm like, do tell, where did this come from? How long has it been there? What can we do to clear this contract? And it's funny because whenever Chen comes through, I know it was a big one, because a lot of the times the soul guides can negotiate a contract on your behalf and they'll just say, okay, yep, it's cleared. But when it comes to a dark contract, usually Chen shows up, which is funny. Even if I'm obviously not working with Andy, Chen will show up and he'll clear the contract for us, and he'll actually have to negotiate some of these contracts. There's only been one instance where he was not able to negotiate the contract. Only one so far. And that case still bothers me to this day. I think I've mentioned that one to you guys before about the young man that remortgaged his vessel twice over. So he made a dark contract in a past life where he allowed his vessel to be used by entities. And then in this lifetime, unfortunately, at age 17, he connected with the same entity over an Ouija board, made a deal with the same entity yet again. And so making another contract in this lifetime on top of the last one, it actually made it so we could not negate this contract. So he's going to have to actually wait until his next incarnation, possibly, to completely clear the contract that he had. So it makes you wonder, like, where is the context in these contracts? Who holds you to these contracts? What's to say that you shouldn't be able to clear one, especially at age 17? You can't even take out a loan for college. It's age 17. You have to be an adult to do that. So the fact that you actually can do these things at age 17 was quite shocking, because if you think about it, this isn't the rest of his entire life was screwed over by making one deal, one that he was tricked into nonetheless. So, yeah, it just goes to show how complicated the situation actually is here. And then it leads me back to thinking about the Prime Directive and how they say that humans should not be influenced, just let them evolve in their own way naturally. And it's like, how are we evolving naturally when we have entities and ETs that are influencing our decisions, even at an early age, to the point where our entire lives now are under their control? You relinquish your free will for an entire lifetime. So if you think about it, think of how vulnerable somebody is, exactly, Michelle, at age 17, and that to not be able to have that cleared. So as I said, I'm very stubborn. I'm not giving up on that young man. I still am not. But I am very curious as to how the hell this is not considered interference. Because if you think about it, we have been pawns in this. God, I didn't want to say a battle for good and evil because it sounds so biblical. Really, that's what it is. They've been using us as kind of like a volleyball, just slapping it back and forth between the dark and the light for how long? So this is something that I've been kind of just sitting here pondering about for the last few days. As somebody who is now basically working for the light and doing all of these clearings and stuff, how long have humans been sucked into this sort of thing? Where you have good guys and you have bad guys. I should say the good guy. What's the difference between a good guy and a bad guy? Well, I guess the good guys are honest in most cases. And they're being direct about the things that they want to do. They're not trying to trick people. Whereas the dark, that's what they do, is they lie and they cheat and they trick people into doing things. And instead of being able to evolve naturally as we're supposedly supposed to be doing, I feel like, we've had nothing but interference since the minute we were created as a species. So the difference would be perception. Exactly, Raymond. Yep. Nailed it. It's all a matter of perspective and perception as to what you believe is right or wrong. Because obviously there's differences of opinions that can stretch across the whole spectrum. And it's funny, I was having a conversation with the soul guides not too long ago, and I actually kind of got annoyed by the fact that I felt like a pawn. And I was like, I don't like being a pawn in a game. And they're like, Laura, you're not a pawn, you're a rook. I was like, what? What does that even mean? I'm a rook. But then I looked up the difference and I'm like, okay, all right. So I'm not just a pawn. I can make my own decisions. I can, I have my own ability to choose which side I want to be on and things. But at the same time, it gets complicated. It really does. It really gets complicated. And the more I get involved with these other beings, these higher beings, the more confusing I feel it gets. So, and this is why, the other day I was telling you guys on my post about Magdalena, I should say Mary Magdalene. She's choosing to call herself Magdalena recently. I've been connecting with her as well. And I'm wondering now, like, where does this all fall into place? Because I feel like we're just kind of redoing the same kind of thing we were doing 2,000 years ago, if you know what I mean. It's almost like this is a game that we just keep replaying over and over and over again here on Earth. And it's like, well, it's not exactly easy to learn how to change things when you are dealing with amnesia every 100 years or so, or less. So it's just, I'm at this point where I would like to feel indifferent just towards the sides. I don't really want to be on either side, if you know what I mean. I just want to be independent. I want to be sovereign. And I also feel like I'm kind of just sick of being stuck in the middle of shit, if you guys know what I mean. Sick of all the drama with ETs and all of the drama when it comes down to all the negative stuff as well. So I just find it very funny whenever the Tagetans, they're always talking about the Prime Directive and how we're not really supposed to be affected by all of these things that are around us at all times. And it's just like, where do we even stand in all this? I'm happy to be helping the side of the light. I really am. I'm happy to be doing the clearings. I'm happy to be assisting with all of these different soul guides. But at the same time, I feel like Sisyphus pushing that rock up the hill. You know what I mean? We're constantly pushing that rock up the hill. And right when we get to the top, it rolls back down and rolls over our toes again, if you know what I mean. So I'm just planning. Everything they say is the future is not written. Everything is kind of up in the air. We still have our free will to decide which way we want humanity to go. So I guess the only thing we can really do is live in the moment. And I find that kind of funny considering living in the moment. And here I am still trying to clear curses from somebody 2,000 years ago. And I'm going to do that, by the way. For those of you who saw my post this morning about the young lady that was basically cursed by a stalker or something 2,000 years ago, I'm actually hoping I'm going to do that today. I'm going to clear her. That's one of the first things I'm going to see if I can. Names. Actually, it's written on. So I was wondering, I do have their names. It's written on the curse. Even though it was 2,000 years ago, that curse could still very well be in effect today. So that's why I'm very keen to see what happens, and I'll let you guys know. Because I'm going to see if Magdalena can clear it for me. And when I say Magdalena, I'm actually talking about Mary Magdalene, which turns out to be Katie's new soul guide. So for the last few weeks, I've been doing clearings with Magdalena, not realizing that until I had my conversation with Jabosh a few days ago, that I'm actually having conversations with Mary Magdalene herself while I'm doing these clearings. So I've ever since then, I've been just trying to figure out what the hell is going on and where my role is in all of this, because I must say, I do feel like I'm like in a spin-off episode of Supernatural. That's what it feels like. It's what it feels like. I really do. I feel like I'm in a new episode of Supernatural, and now this is the new season. I have no idea nobody's really written any of the script for me. I'm just winging it as I go. But my conversation with Tabash, and I probably will share it with you guys soon. It was a lot for me. It was a lot to handle. It was a lot of information for me to process, because I'm still trying to figure my whole role in all of this. The amnesia doesn't help. And as I was saying the other day, I wish that there was an easier way of doing this, because I feel like, especially when I'm talking with the soul guides, they want you to do all your homework. They want you to connect with your guides. They want you to find your own answers deep within yourself. But at the same time, it's like, I've had my memory erased how many times? My conscious mind doesn't know shit, but apparently my subconscious knows a lot that it's not sharing. So that's why it's kind of funny how we're all just kind of winging it, trying to remember all of these things from the past that are so efficient, so important. And there was somebody I did a clearing on the other day, who had a past life in Egypt, and she was actually there as a guardian to protect the Emerald Tablets. And she had all kinds of beasties on her. And when we asked why she had these attached to her, they were quite literally trying to stop her from remembering her past life. They didn't want her to remember all of the things that she had learned from her past in Egypt, because apparently there were things that she learned that would change humanity to some degree. So the entities have been stopping her from trying to actually recall these things. So how is that not interference? It's one thing when we have the entities that are like, no, you're not allowed to remember. But the soul guides, they're like, well, you can remember, but I'm not going to tell you. So that's my frustration right now, is the fact that I literally have conversations with people that know far more about me and my past than I do myself. And they're all like, well, you'll figure it out. You'll get that download eventually. You'll learn. So I love my job. I really do. Spending time with the soul guides, being able to have conversations with them every day, it is the best honor I've ever been gifted. But at the same time, my frustration with them, when they could just be like, your name is blah, blah, blah. You were doing this. You were doing that. You came here to do this. They could make things a little bit easier. for us, considering, the situation and how dire things are and how much we have to recall from ourselves. Because if you think about it, your past lives, if you were to take all of your lifetimes you've ever lived and put them all into a library where each lifetime would be a book, right? So some of you have a library with 1,000 books in there. You've had 1,000 different incarnations. How much of this do we actually get to recall? Maybe one sentence from each book out of all of them. I've I've got maybe, I think, 10 different lifetimes that I'm aware of now, but out of all of those 10 lifetimes, I get maybe a paragraph from each book, maybe even half a paragraph or even just a sentence from each book. So wouldn't it be nice? Exactly. If we could just read the cliff notes, Jessica, wouldn't it be great? Where we could just tap into these books and just take them off and be like, okay, I'm really interested into why this is affecting me. Maybe I should, maybe there's some answers in my life in Atlantis. And you pull the book down. This is the Akashic Records that I'm literally envisioning in my head. So the information is there, but how do you pull it down? How do you download that information? And is it even information that you want to download, or is it just going to end up re-traumatizing you in a different way? So this is the thing, our past lives are so complicated, and most of them are involved in stuff that's happening to this day. For example, you get people in your lives where you have people that you've known. I've known people probably 17, 18 years that I've just been playing Xbox with. Okay. Why is it those people that you are so attracted to, that you have, spent time with them? And I asked my soul guides the other day, and sure enough, one of the friends that I've had for many years, I knew in a past life. And I'm like, okay, which one? They're not going to tell you. You're just going to have to figure it out. And so it's just frustrating because maybe I'm just being lazy about it, because maybe I am, that's true. But I just wish it was easier, that we could just ask these questions, and rather than them saying, well, figure it out, download it, meditate on it, they could just give us a straight answer and be like, yeah, you knew that guy. He was an ex-husband in a past life and he didn't treat you very well. So just ignore him. Just move on. If they could give you answers like that, it would make things a little bit easier down here. So I don't know why they like to play all these games. So Aaron says, go within. That is exactly what the soul guides tell me all the time. Just go within. Like, I'm trying to download lifetimes here. I've got huge library I'm trying to download here. So it'd be nice if I had a little bit of backup. Megan says, I don't think they're allowed to tell us. Well, that's the funny thing is who makes the rules? Who decides what we should be allowed to know and who doesn't? Is it the higher self? Is it the higher self that decides, no, she's not ready for this? How do they know that we're ready for it or not? So it's just my frustration, I think, lies in the fact that I have so many snippets and there's no meat. You know what I mean? There's no sustenance being given. I have a little bits here and there that I download. Like the other day, I found out that I was Amazon in a past life and I lived 600 years before I died. Okay. Any more info on that would be great. I would love some more info on that. So it's one of those things where I feel like we could be getting more info and we're not, and they want us to work for it, which is completely understandable. But considering we're already working for so much else, this is just me venting my frustrations. I have been, I'm just trying to figure out my role in all of this, as I'm sure each one of you are also trying to figure out your roles in all of this. And most of us are here with a mission. Like, we're not just here to learn and have experiences. We're here to actually change things and to make this world a different place than where it's been for 13,000 years. And it's no small task. So it does make you wonder, like, why we are not given more of a hand when it comes to remembering these things. And when it comes, and my soul guides, they keep telling me, meditate, Laura, meditate, meditate. And I'm like, do you have any idea how hard it is to meditate when you have bad ADD like me? Meditation is not easy, especially for me. And I keep trying to be hypnotized as well. And I have not gone under hypnosis either. And I asked them why the other day. I'm like, how come it's not happening? And they're like, you're just being impatient. You're on the road, Lara. That's what they told me. They're like, you're focused on the destination when you're just supposed to be focused on the road. So that's what I was told as to why my abilities are not up here yet. They're like, you'll get there eventually. Just more homework before you get there. So I'm doing what Michelle says. I'm doing the guided meditations. And out of all the guided meditations I've done, there are two people who are my absolute favorites. And they are Chen, of course. I absolutely love Chen, and Siddhartha. And for those of you who are interested, Siddhartha also, thank you, Christopher, by the way, for reminding me of this. Let me find the link for that. Siddhartha has some really incredible meditations. And to be honest, out of all the meditations I do, Siddhartha's are by far the best. So thank you to Christopher. For some reason, I'm not able to get logged into this. Is weird. Christopher, if you're watching, can you resend me that link, please? So Siddhartha has been, oh, here it is. Got it. So here we go. For some reason, I'm having all kinds of tech issues here today. Hang on a second. There we go. So if you guys are interested in some really incredible guided meditations, where is it? I'm having all kinds of issues. Here we go. Here's the link. Make sure that you guys sign up. Learn to meditate from Siddhartha. So this is my plan. This is what I'm planning to do because I am terrible at meditation. Knock on wood, I'm having some really good progress so far. I'm getting better at meditation. But normally my issue with meditation is within 5 minutes, my brain is off. It goes off on tangents, kind of like my mouth does. So if you guys are interested, maybe we can do the meditations together and see what happens. But my guides, that's what the main thing they keep saying is meditate, meditate, meditate. Like whenever I get frustrated, they're like, shh, meditate. They're like, shh, shh, meditate. That's their answer for everything. Meditate. And if I can't meditate, they're like, journal. So for those of you who are like me, who are frustrated and trying to remember really important parts of your history, I guess meditation is the best and only place to start. Because this is what my guides tell me every day. Want progress? Meditate. Meditate, meditate, meditate. And for those of you who, it's really funny because almost all of the time, every time I get a client that has a detailed clearing that they want to know questions, you guys are asking the same questions. How do I connect with my guides? How do I connect with my guides? I answer that same question probably 4 or 5 times a day, 5 at least. And it's always the same answer. Meditate, meditate, meditate. That's what they tell me. I would love it if there would be other options, where they're just like, hey, do this, do that. Go and stand on your head for 20 minutes. I would do it. If they told me to go and stand on my head for 20 minutes, I would do my best to get up there, and then I'd probably get stuck. But I would definitely do it because at least it's something that I could do physically where I'm like, yeah, I got it. Okay, I can do this. But when it comes to turning my brain off and to quieting the mind, it is not easy for me at all. So I'm hoping these guided meditations are going to be the game changer in all of this. And who better than Siddhartha, really? Master of meditation. So the book says you need to fast for 40 days and meditate for 40 days. Well, I'm going to try to do both. I am, because my frustration with myself really is the fact that I haven't really made time for connecting with my own guides. And here I am saying to my guides, like, my friends' guides, I should say, the ones I'm working with, I'm like, I want to be able to do what you guys are doing. I want to just be able to walk into a building and clear that shit, you know? And they're like, you're going to get there, Laura. You just need to meditate. Meditate, meditate, meditate. And I tell them, well, I want to be a trance medium. I want to be able to channel one of my guides. And they're like, okay, meditate, 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 meditate. That's all they say. So this is why I say, for those of you who are also frustrated with the same way that I am with, I shouldn't even say lack of progress, because progress is happening just in a different way than I was kind of hoping. Because by now I'm like, come on, I want to be able to clear people. I just want to be able to look at somebody and be like, yep, he's got something clear, you know, like Andy does. Because somebody walks up to Andy and says, oh, I think I've got something wrong with me. Andy just goes, done, clear. So, yeah, work in progress. We're all a work in progress. But at the same time, like I said, meditate, meditate, meditate. Jessica says, what are good questions that you can suggest we ask? My favorite question that people often ask is, are there any past lives that are influencing my current life? That is a really good question. Because even though we do check for past life energetic resonances, these are past lives where you had something traumatic that happened to you. Let's say that you, I don't know, you were trying to chop down a tree and the tree came and fell on you. Okay. And you had a past life resonance of a tree falling on you. So let's say your legs were numb and you wouldn't be able to feel your legs. Well, we clear all of that from you. And then sure enough, I'm just getting my charger here. He's going dead. So once we clear that from you, whatever was affecting you physically, it will go away. So there was somebody that had an incident with a wagon injury. So they actually got crushed. The wagon was folded in half like an accordion and it broke their spine. So they've always had numbness. So we went to do the past life residence clearing. And sure enough, that's what we found and we removed it. But whenever we are actually checking for why things are the way they are in certain people's lives, let's say that you're in a narcissistic relationship with somebody and you would like more information as to why that is, there's almost always a clue in your past lives. Almost always. Because we're repeating patterns constantly. Most of us are repeating some sort of a pattern. Even if you, ironically, are one of those pod people and all of your past lives here are actually one of what we would call imprints, you know? So they're not even your past lives. They're somebody else's past life. Even your imprints can end up as baggage that you're trying to work shit out with in this incarnation. So even though you weren't actually the one that was involved in that situation, just because you downloaded information about that situation, you end up putting yourself into there in this next life. So it does make you wonder, like, how much our past lives are actually influencing this current incarnation. And it's almost all of them. Almost all of you have some kind of a complication, I guess would be the best way to putting it, from a past life. Whether it's a relationship with somebody you're still working things out with when it comes to karmic stuff, whether or not it's ancestral karma. Probably I'd say about 90% of the people I clear have ancestral karma that is still attached to them, whether it's on their mother's side or their father's side. Because you end up carrying not only your own baggage, but your familial baggage as well. So, and then you wonder why in certain relationships don't work out. Certain siblings may not get along too. And then you find out that one sibling murdered another sibling and you're like, oh, okay, that'll definitely tarnish the relationship. And then you wonder why both of you never really got along. And then it turns out that you were repairing some really heavy karma. And even if you have step-parents, step-parents, adopted parents, all of them were planned supposedly by your higher self for whatever reason. So yeah, you can check all of these things in your Akashic record, by the way, which is what these soul guides tune into whenever we are actually doing these clearings. So whenever we are tuning into the client, yes, we scan their etheric. We go and see what is attached to their etheric, what is inside their etheric or around them that shouldn't be there. But then the soul guides, they take your book down out of the Akashic record and they look. It's actually really funny to watch them because when they're doing it, they actually look like they're reading a book. because they'll be doing this while they're looking for your information. So they are quite literally pulling one of your actual books down out of the library, and they're tuning into whatever chapter it is in your book that you need to know about, and then they are quite literally reading it out loud to me as I'm doing the clearing. So I find that to be really interesting. Meanwhile, I'm like, so what's in my book? And they're like, oh, wow, you can go meditate. They quite literally can pull your book down and be like, oh, okay, here's your entire soul history. Nice. All right. And then, what you gonna tell me? Nothing. So yeah, this is one of the things that I'm also going to be working on, is not just tuning in with mediumship and doing clearings, but I actually want to be able to tune into the Akashic records and pull those books down myself and read them myself and figure out all these things. Michelle says, I will not lead my next life with the people who hurt me. That is why forgiveness is the most important thing. Forgive, forgive, forgive. Even if they screwed you over, you're going to have to let it go. Not unless you want to be dragged into the same shit with the same incarnation with the same people. Amanda says, Laura, I have booked a 1 hour with Chen. Does he have real-time access of my Akashic records during the session? Yes, he does. 100%. That's where these soul guides are getting all this information. You get it directly from there, from the Akashic records. Courtney said, you'll get there, Laura. Just meditate. Yeah, exactly. You know what else is really funny? And this is something that I wasn't even originally going to share with you guys, but for some reason it's popped up in my head 3 times this morning. And this is a huge validation for Erin Steneva McHugh, by the way, because the last day at the retreat, Erin took all of us into a big circle, and she blessed us and brought us into the sisterhood of Mary Magdalene, which is a beautiful honor for us. And so when Erin walked up to me, she whispered in my ear, she goes, your crown was taken from you, and Isis is returning it to you now. And when you hear things like that, you're like, oh, cool, I have an astral crown. Like, awesome, you know? So I didn't really think anything of it. Just kind of, you know, you hear something cool and you're like, okay, cool. And then you just, you know? So here it is, like 2 weeks later. And as I told you guys, I have been actually working with Mary Magdalene through Katie to do clearings, which totally blew my mind and I didn't know about until my conversation with Tabash. So I go to sit down with Ruth yesterday. Ruth is one of our SRT mediums, and she connects with her soul guide, King. King's one of my favorite soul guides to work with. He's got a great sense of humor, very kind, very sweet, but he's very funny and very direct. And we found a reptilian on somebody yesterday. He goes, oh my God, there is a crocodile. I was like, really? He goes, it's got a human body, but it has a crocodile head. I'm like, yeah, that's a reptilian for you. And he's like, this is the first time I've seen one. It was really funny to chat with him and just to go through these, you know, clearings with him, because sometimes he sees things and he's even like, what the hell? What is that? It's really funny to see the soul guides when they're actually having like a reaction to something that they've never seen before either. But what was funny is that when I sat down with King, the first thing he says to me, he says, I wanted to, you know, before we get started, Laura, I wanted to say congratulations on your initiation. And I said, oh, thank you. And I said, that means a lot. And he goes, and your crown, it looks beautiful. And I was like, huh? He's like, yeah, you have a crown on your head. I can see it clear as day right now. And I was like, really? Like, there really is a crown? He's like, yeah, Laura, there's a big crown on your head as we speak. Apparently it was yours from the past and they gave it back to you. So the funny thing is that they didn't know anything about this. And I didn't really say anything about this. So for the soul guides to actually be like, by the way, you really do have one on your head right now. It blew my mind. It blew my mind completely. So this is what I mean. Like, you know, I get validations. I would normally think I was completely crazy for all of this. The fact that I get so many validations from different sources that did not even really hear the other sources it really, it holds a lot of weight. So the funny thing is, and Lloyd pulled that crown card from me as well. That is true. So actually, I forgot to ask him what it looks like. Actually, I'm gonna ask him, King, what it looks like now that I'm curious. But I'm wondering, like, who took it? Like, they told me it's been returned. So I'm like, wait a minute, what does that even mean? Does that mean I had one before, but then they took it from me and they gave it back to me? And what does that even mean? Like, what do I have to do now? Does it mean I have more responsibilities? Like, I don't even understand what this means. So it's exciting. And I do feel very honored, but I don't know what it means. And I'm still trying to figure all of this out because, yeah, this is new. This is definitely taking some getting used to. So I'm trying to be patient. It was really funny too, because when we were walking around Egypt, I went to Egypt with Sarah Bressman Cosme and a bunch of QHHT people about 4 years ago. And right before COVID hit, ironically. And as I'm walking around, people started calling me my queen. It was really funny. I thought it was a thing that they do to tourists, because I even said something like, you guys, blah, blah, blah. And it happened like 5 or 6 different times with different people for no reason. And they kept saying it. And funnily enough, I said something to Sarah and I was like, yeah, well, they did it to everybody. And Sarah's like, no, they didn't. I was like, what do you mean? She goes, no, they really, you were the only one they were following around calling my queen. And I looked at her and I was like, are you serious? Like, what? You didn't have that happen? She goes, no, that was you. I was like, what? So it makes me wonder. And this is another reason why I'm like, what is even happening? Give me answers. Like, I want to know. But no, they're telling me to meditate instead. So now I'm really, really curious as to what's going on and who took my crown in the first place and why I have it back now all of a sudden. Why did they give it back? Nobody tells me anything. So now I'm even more curious. And I must say, though, I have been walking a bit taller the last few days now that I heard that. But it does, I mean, to be working with Mary Magdalene, too, it makes you wonder, like, what is going on? Why so much attention from I mean, I grant, yeah, we have been chasing some big beasties around, you know, we have been doing some big stuff, clearing the Olympia and all of that interesting things. So it just makes you wonder, like, maybe, I don't know, weird stuff, you guys, all kinds of weird stuff is going on. And things are getting, like I said, it's turning into an episode of Supernatural these days. I don't know what's happening. So I'm just taking it one day at a time. I would love some answers, but they're playing coy now, the soul guys. They don't want to tell me shit. They just keep telling me to meditate. So, but it would be really nice, right? If we could just pull down our book from the Akashic record and just open it up and be like, okay, this is my first incarnation. This is where I moved through this, this, and this. Oh, I went through some shit here. Definitely good to know that, you know, and just working through all of these things. Because I feel like almost all the people in our lives, all the people that hold a significant role in our lives, that was not a chance. And in most cases, I don't think this is the first time either, especially now in this incarnation, when so many things seem to be culminating, you know, they're coming to a head. 13,000 years of drama, and it feels like it's all culminating now. Like we've all chosen to be here now to try and heal the past in some way, or to redirect things in a new way. I don't know. But it definitely is, it's leaving me with more questions than answers. And that's kind of gets on my nerves with that, because I like answers. I've got more questions than I know what to do with. Ray says, I wonder if your ADD came from not having your crown. Maybe your ADD. Well, this is the thing, is I don't feel like ADD is always a negative thing. I feel like it's like with everything, you get pros and cons, right? So the negative obviously would be like, shiny thing, I'm gone. Like something attacks my attention. I'm like, whoop, redirected really quick. And it's hard for me to focus on one thing. But at the same time, my vibration is always high. Those of you who hung out with me in person, you know this. I'm always bouncing. I'm bouncing all over the fucking place. I'm always giddy and silly and jumping all over the place and being ridiculous. So it makes you wonder if that's part of the upside of it. Tracy says, I was told I was in Egypt. I had a dream of being a priestess worshiping the sun. I almost guarantee that was not just a dream, Tracy. Probably visiting another version of yourself. Most of our dreams are messages, and I feel that those messages are getting louder. Hi, Linda. Linda says, I've been led to you for help. If there's something that you need, Linda, please do message me. But I am excited to do. I really, if I could have any goal that I could set for myself, it would definitely be the Akashic records, being able to just download answers as needed, and the ability to connect with my guides on such a level as, like Katie and Ruth can. And I do believe that the more time you spend with other mediums who are doing this work, the more that your abilities do go up, the more you are able to access these parts of your brain through higher vibration, etc. Colleen says, imagine not having our ADD energy to clean the house. Oh my gosh, I know, right? It's one of the pros, isn't it? Without a doubt. I'm always bouncing around doing stuff. And breath work. Yes, that is another one. Meditation and breath work really go hand in hand. That is something else that we should also be doing. Yep, meditation and breath work. They need to be both done technically at the same time if you think about it, because it makes your meditation more effective. Hi, Charshel. Yes, you did. You did have imposter soul guides. How are you feeling anyway after that? So imposter soul guides happen, Harshal, when you make a contract with an entity, not realizing that they are actually not of the highest light, if you put it that way. Because you do get soul guides that are, they come and go, right? All of us have soul guides. They come and go. They're basically the souls that have been connected to us for a deeper reason, whether or not they're another version of you, whether or not they are another incarnation, another deep connection, a twin flame, that sort of thing. But there are also guides out there that are not from the highest of light. To be a soul guide, you can be both good and bad. You can actually, there are bad soul guides out there. And I say bad as in they are out for their own benefit, not for yours. So you do actually get imposter soul guides who are basically, very intelligent beings that come forward, and they will make an agreement to kind of lead you in a certain way. And unfortunately, some of those guides are, you get a mix of everything. You get the nice ones that care about you. You get the ones that are really out for their own benefit. You get opportunists who are really just there to see how things are going to unfold. So you get a broad spectrum. Whenever we do a check on imposter soul guides, we make sure that the guides they have are the ones that were actually there for their highest good, that are there serving them to their highest good. But unfortunately, there's a lot of entities out there that masquerade as soul guides who say that they are only out for your highest good, but really they're not. So this is why when we come in with the team, with Chen's team, we check to see where their loyalty lies. If they are a high vibrational being that is truly there to protect and guide and to, to help benefit, they will leave them be. But if they are a negative entity that is masquerading as a nice one, which happens quite often, they will remove that imposter and then bring in one of the good ones. It does happen that your soul guides will watch. They will step back. So let's say, for example, you're going through a really difficult time in your life and you are addicted crowd and you're messing around with stuff you probably shouldn't be. Well, there comes an opportunity where some kind of an entity will try and work their way in. And if you make a connection to this entity, and if you give them permission to come in as one of your guides, then you make it what we call a dark contract with them. So whenever there's an imposter soul guide, there's almost always a dark contract. And I had to learn this the hard way myself. As those of you remember, a few months ago, I made a dark contract with a reptilian, thinking that it was a nice one, pretending that it was there for my highest of good. And I trusted it. I trusted the medium that connected me to it, thinking that, because you get the balance of everything. You get beings of good that are of light and darkness, no matter what race they are. So it's just like humans. You get the good, the bad, and the in-between. So I fell for it. And unfortunately, the medium that connected me to it also fell for it. So I had to go to another soul guide and validate whether or not my guides were of the highest of light, and they were not. So the imposters had to be kicked out, and I had a dark contract that needed to be negated. Obviously, everything happens for a reason, and that was probably one of the most painful learning lessons I've ever had since my spiritual awakening. But it's good to know that they can actually trick you to that degree, because they are very, very intelligent. And unfortunately, they will also get you when you're at your lowest, when you're really struggling, when you're at a time in your life where things are not very good for you and you're desperate for help and you ask for help. Sometimes the help you get is not the kind of help you need. So you need to use your discretion, and you need to listen to your inner voice. And my inner voice, I ignored for a whole week before I finally went to Chen and validated what I was listening to, because I didn't want to be wrong. I was really, really hoping that I was wrong and that my intuition was lying to me. But unfortunately, no, I was lying to myself. So always trust yourself. Always know if something isn't right, then we can have the soul guides to double check. And unfortunately, in your situation, Harshal, these guides, they can be in there in such a long time, we don't even realize it causes our lives to just kind of fall apart. You go through a downward spiral many times, and you don't realize it's because the guide that you trust is leading you down that downward spiral on purpose. So Ray says it could be one of our enemies that crossed over that are trying to mess with us, pretending to be a spirit guide. 100%. Yep. And I shouldn't even call them enemies, really, because, this is also, it draws more of a line between the light and the dark. They're really just opportunists. They see an opportunity, they're going to take it. So if they see us doing something dumb, like, having conversations with beings and not validating who they are and what their purpose and intentions are, then yeah, they're going to try and weasel their way in and trick us. So from that lesson, now I even validated it was really Mary Magdalene. I messaged Andy like 5:00 in the morning going, was that really Mary Magdalene that came through my session, or was that something else? And Chen's like, no, it really was her. That is the only reason I believed that it really was her, because my first intuition was not to trust anything these days because of unfortunately, how manipulative some of these beings can be. So you really have to be careful. You have to know who you're talking to, and you have to validate it. And they can lie. They lie all the time. That's all they do is freaking lie. This is why we don't have conversations with entities. And, there are a lot of people out there who do. Laura has conversations with them almost every day. And if it works for her, then that's great. But I'm at the point where I don't even want to talk to them, because literally all they're going to do is lie and manipulate and make us doubt ourselves. And these entities, it is nice that some people want to work with them to save them. In fact, the other day, there was a reptilian attack on one of our mediums, and we actually took it off and we put it in a bubble. And this reptile, we told it, we basically were like, all right, you can choose to join our side if you want. If you want to come over to our side, you can. And you know what it did? It started hurting itself in the bubble. Literally started attacking itself because it couldn't attack us. It would rather die than come to our team, if you know what I mean. So it does make you wonder, like, how effective trying to have a conversation with one of these beings are, especially if you're trying to talk it over into our side. The fact that it would literally rather hurt itself in the bubble rather than switch teams, if you know what I mean. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, and I'm not just talking about the humans. Clearly, it would be nice if humans were the only thing we were trying to heal on this planet, but no. And there have been several people, and it's funny, it seems like a common theme actually this week, where I've actually done clearings on people. There's now been 3 in the last week that I've been doing clearings. People that were actually on the other side for a time, where they were basically working with the Orion side of things for a while. This is something that Katesh was talking about quite a bit. If you guys have been watching some of Katesh's sessions, some of her hypnosis sessions, they're absolutely brilliant. It's one of those situations where there's a lot of beings that are trying to switch teams right now, that they're tired of being, a pawn of the dark side, and they're actually trying to take back their sovereignty after thousands of years of being basically a foot soldier. Several people have been dealing with this. So it makes you wonder, why so many foot soldiers are trying to swap sides right now. And I think it's because of the shift. A lot of them are. And I'm not just talking about the entities. I'm talking about the people that they, manipulated for many, many incarnations. Shakti says, it's almost like telling a full-blown narcissist or a psychotic person to be in service to others. Yes. Exactly. It's like trying to convince one of those staunch carnivore types that only eat meat and potatoes to switch to vegan. You know what I mean? Like, they get offended just at you even saying it. They're like, who the hell? Who do you think you are? Yes. And yeah, you are one of the 3, Harshal, by the way, since I wasn't going to say it, but since you're already saying it in the comments, I'm just going to validate it. Yes. Harshal was one of the beings that switched. And high five on that, Harshal, by the way. Giving you a high five. Thank you for joining our team. We appreciate you. But yeah, there's quite a few people that have, and Harshal wasn't even a reptilian. He was a Lyran. He was a human like us, but he was basically in a past life where they abused his people so badly, he wasn't given a choice to join the reptiles. There's a lot. This is one of the things that, if you should also check out some of Katesh's. In fact, I'm going to send this just for you, Harshal. On Katesh's hypnosis page, hold on. Where is she? There she is. Elizabeth is sleeping right now, but I'm totally going to blow up her YouTube for her. So for those of you who are interested in this is my friend Katesh's hypnosis channel on YouTube. She has several videos about foot soldiers that are switching sides. So check out her channel and look at some of her past life regressions. The one that I was thinking of, and what's funny is that when I was doing your clearing, Herschel, I actually thought of these beings. Where are they? Invasion of a Pleiadian planet. This is the one. I thought of you when I was doing your clearing. I thought of this session. So if you don't mind, Herschel, listen to that one I just sent you, and then let me know what you think. We can have a conversation about this. Because this regression I just shared is about Lyrans that were forced into slavery, and it might actually be about your people. So have a look. You might find it really interesting. They're Lyrans. They're actually ancestors of humans, but they were very terribly abused by the reptiles, and they were taken as slaves, and then they ended up being slave drivers themselves, if you know what I mean. Which is quite common. This is the thing, it's like you capture everybody, but then you give some slaves favoritism and you make them leader over the other slaves, and they feel this, a superiority. And even though they're kind of at the bottom of the pecking order, they're still above the slaves. So they kind of, you know what I mean? Like they look after the ones lower. And so this is something that they've been doing for a very long time. I mean, pretty much all around this planet as well, not just off-world. But yeah, sorry, Leanne. Some of her videos are hard to listen to, and I cry my way through them. I am the same way. They do trigger me emotionally too, because some of their heavy history that we're learning. Erica says it sounds like the movie Jupiter Rising. The movie Jupiter Rising may as well have been a fucking documentary. If you guys have ever seen Jupiter Rising, I actually got halfway through it and I got so mad at how accurate it was that I turned it off. I couldn't finish it. Like the whole movie was so accurate, so spot on. In fact, I should probably force myself to finish it one of these days. But it literally, I mean, it has all of this in it. And so, yeah. They just love to do that, though, don't they? They love to put truth in movies. Just like the slavery of African people in the USA. Yes, Stan, exactly. It's just how slavery in general works, you know? Is it Jupiter Rising, not Ascending? I can't remember. It's been so long since I watched it. I think it was about 3 years ago. Is it Jupiter Rising? It might be. Let's find out. I'm going to find out now. Yeah, it is Jupiter Ascending. Well done. Good memory. It's got Channing Tatum and Mila Kunis in it. And Sean Bean. I forgot Sean Bean's in it. Love Sean Bean. He's great. So, give it a go. We can talk about it later. That's a good one. Because like it's got reptilians and a whole bunch of stuff in it. I'm telling you. It's all it's all based on history. They love to put the Tiamat Wars in movies. What do you think Star Wars was all about? Star Wars was definitely about the Tiamat Wars. So many people healing what's going on in the Tiamat Wars, which is one of the reasons why I've been wearing my Atlantis stone recently. I'm also trying to heal that timeline. Yeah, they were. Yeah, where they take entire planets and make the people into that life elixir. Yep. All in the movie Avatar as well. Avatar is full of truth too. There's so many movies that have truth about our history in them. So it's like, well, I guess I don't need to meditate. I'll just watch the movie. Like, since it's all in there anyway, we're just changing the roles. But to be fair, like, after listening to some of Kitesh's sessions, like, I do think that what we see in the movies is watered down compared to what we actually went through. I don't think the movies actually cover it quite to the level that we actually went through. Because, I mean, even when you're in Star Wars, for example, destroying an entire planet, you don't realize just how much it affects countless other, I mean, literally trillions and trillions of lives. What is an Atlantis stone? This is called Larimar, Stone of Atlantis. For those of you who may not know. Larimar. So, any other questions? I've been rambling for an hour now. If you guys anything you want to ask about? I'm going to be doing a Chen talk this week, and I think the Chen talk that I'm going to have is going to be about contracts. So I'm going to be doing a talk on Astara coming up. I still have to talk with Christopher about when that's going to happen. But I would like to talk with you guys about soul contracts. And who are you, Smith? Why are you spamming my stuff? Oh, you're a spammer, aren't you? Hold on. Block. Deleted. There we go. Got him. So, Leanne says, I agree. Movies don't come close to the devastation that has happened. Nope. Not even a little bit. I do think they give us a little bit of an idea, but when it comes to the full breadth of what we've been through, no. But this is why certain movies will actually trigger you, kind of like how Jupiter Ascending triggered me. No, I couldn't even watch it. I got so mad at the movie. I'm like, I'm not watching this shit because I remember how true this shit probably is. And so when they put it in your face and they call it fiction, like that, it gets onto my nerves. So, but this is something I'm just going to have to, learn to release. Agent Smith wants to break out of the Matrix too. Good point, Catherine. The Matrix sucks so bad that even the agents are like, nope, I don't want this shit anymore. Oh, that is funny. Remembering is a blessing and a curse, says Hunter. Absolutely. But I'd rather, if it was the choice between remembering and being completely ignorant, I will always choose remembering. Hands down. If somebody says blue pill or red pill, Laura, I'm always going to choose the red, because I would rather, ignorance is not as blissful as people think, especially when your ignorance does not protect you. In fact, somebody today on that post where they were talking about that 2,000-year-old curse, that love curse that was put on that lady, somebody wrote in the comments that curses only have power if you believe in them. If you don't believe in them, then it doesn't. It's true that once you are aware of the curse and that you know about it, and if you believe in it, it makes the curse stronger. But no, it is completely untrue that just not being aware of it protects you, because you still have it on you regardless. There are people who are still ending up with severe financial problems and all kinds of stuff, relationship issues. There are all kinds of problems that can surface from these curses and spells. And sure enough, when I go back through and I check whether or not they have contracts or any curses or spells, this is what I find. And most of the people that I do these clearings on, they're not aware of any curses. They're still being affected by it. So, like somebody the other day, I did a clearing on a whole family for free because the family was so bad financially. And then sure enough, I go in and check, and they had a financial curse that was put on them from a family member. They didn't know there was a curse on them from a family member. It still did an effective job at completely ruining their finances. So part of the aftercare advice for that, by the way, after clearing the curse, was they told me to tell them to go get a money plant and to put some coins in the money plant. So for those of you who have been hit really hard financially, go out, buy a money plant, put some coins in the soil, because that's what what the soul guides recommended for them. Hunter says we need some way to mass clear curses. Well, considering we cleared 1,000 curses from just that one school, and it was the school and hospital and cemetery, if you remember, a few weeks ago, a couple months ago, actually. Now we did 1,000 curses. That's one of the questions I should ask Chen too, because I'm sure they cleared curses on the Olympia as well, but he didn't mention that. Actually, he didn't mention how many curses that he cleared from the Olympia. So we'll have to ask Chen. We're going to have a chat with him Thursday in private on Astara. And for those of you who wonder why we do that on Astara, is because we can talk about whatever the hell we want. We could talk about all kinds of things in Astara that we cannot talk about on Facebook. So for those of you who are interested, I will actually be looking for some more questions for Chen of the more, should say darker nature. Because one of the things that I'm planning to ask Chen about is during the chat is about these curses, about dark contracts and stuff. Because I'm trying, this is, like I said, they're my biggest interest right now, is clearing contracts and curses. Because it's one thing to have an entity. That entity can come and go. There's lots of them that come and go. But those curses, they are by far the most effective at ruining your next incarnation. 100%. Some of them have been ruining several incarnations, which is why I'm still going to check, even though that, I showed you guys, even though that curse was from 2,000 years ago that we were talking about this morning, it could still be in effect today. If nobody went through and cleared it for her, then yeah, it could still be in effect today. So I'm really curious as to whether or not it's going to be in effect. I'm going to find out. So if you guys have any questions on anything that you would actually like us to know, can we ask him to clear us all on Thursday from our curses? Sure. In fact, I'll get Chen to do a mass clearing on Thursday. Sounds good. So make sure that you guys join us on Astara, okay, on Thursday. And I will ask him to clear curses for everybody. Sounds like good. Sounds like a plan. Just because Amanda asked. Ask and ye shall receive. So yeah, why not? We'll get him to do a mass clearing on us, and we'll also get him to clear all of that stuff. But like I said, these things are what we clear anyway when we do these reports. Hi, Chantal. What's your question, sweetie? So yeah, just make sure that you guys are joining us on Thursday for the Chen Chat, and that we will make sure it's going to be at 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern. So set an alarm, set a timer. It's going to be on the paid membership side. So make sure that you guys are all, ready on a star at 1 p.m. And I will make sure that you guys get your curses cleared. It's just, like I said, what you ask, you get. This is one of the things when it comes to the soul guides. You have to ask intelligently. You have to ask the right questions. So for those of you who have already booked a clearing with me, this is something you've already had removed for you, because I always check for curses. I checked for cursed objects. I found a cursed ring in somebody's house just yesterday. So it's always good to know when you can actually check your home too. So you make sure that none of these things are actually still cursed. Because ironically, even if you have something that's 500 years old, if it was cursed 500 years ago, it's still cursed today if nobody's cleansed it, if nobody's cleared it. So that's why I say, like, certain objects, like that one that I posted about this morning, I'm definitely going to check and see if I can clear. Because, like I said, it will bleed into your next incarnation, unfortunately. So, like it did for my best friend who took his life. I told you guys about that a few months ago. It wasn't just a curse for him, it was a generational curse. So it ruined his life, and it was going to continue ruining his family's lives until we cleared it. So we put the entire family in a bubble, and we cleared the curse from everybody in the family line. So sometimes it's more than just one person that needs the clearing, because unfortunately, choosing a certain bloodline can come with fine print you might not have read as well. Jean says, how did you know the ring was cursed? Well, through my protocol, I go through and I ask the soul guides to check the entire household for any objects that may have a cursed energy. So they actually scan the whole house for objects that may have these things. And it's not always intentional. In fact, a couple months ago, there was a young lady that had a cursed scarf that was given to her. And I said, why is the scarf cursed? And they said the lady that had it had cancer. And the reason she had cancer, she was so angry at the world over her situation that she quite literally cursed everything that she gave away for free. So she gave this scarf as just a giving it away, because she's trying to get rid of the stuff in her household. But because she had so much anger and aggression put onto her things through what she was going through, even just giving things away. And it was crazy how the soul guides found it too. I'm like, are there any cursed objects in the house? They're like, yes, there's a pink scarf. It's in the front hallway, left closet, the drawer, not the one that's hanging in the closet. It's the pink scarf that's in the drawer, second drawer down. Because apparently this lady had 2 pink scarves, and they're like, it's not the one in the closet that she wears all the time. It's the other pink scarf that's in the drawer, folded up and put away. And I just laughed, and I'm like, if she doesn't think this is, and sure enough, she messaged me, and she's like, there really was a pink scarf in that drawer by the door. And I was like, make sure you smudge it. Make sure you smudge it. Shay says, makes me think twice about thrifting. Yep, smudge everything you buy. The weirdest thing that I ever found cursed in somebody's house was markers. Markers. And I'm like, why the hell are there cursed markers? And for those of you who was watching the podcast the morning after, you remember it was because those markers were produced through slave labor. And because they were quite literally being forced into human slavery, making those markers in China or wherever it was, their misery, all of their pain and suffering went into those markers and literally cursed the people that would use them. So we don't find things like this all the time. But yeah, don't worry, Catherine, it wasn't you. No, it was somebody else, and she did find the pink scarf, and she smudged it. Like I said, once you clear the curse and then you smudge the object, all the energy of the curse is gone, and it's fine. So just make sure that when you bring stuff in, when you go thrifting, you smudge it. Okay. And I wouldn't even just smudge it. I would actually, you can put it in a space where you've got like high vibe energy. Like, let's say I actually have a closet that I keep clear of clutter, and then I put a lot of my high vibe stuff in it. So what you can do is you can actually have like a cleansing closet where you put lots of high vibe things in there, like crystals, etc. And then you just smudge it, put it in the closet, let it cleanse all of that space. There's a lot that you can do to kind of change the energy of things that you're picking up. But you also want to do this with food, funnily enough, because if, let's say, for example, your food is being produced by people who are being abused and not appreciated, all that energy goes into your food. So this is why, you don't want to buy food from restaurants where they abuse their workers, because there's people. And this is another reason why you don't want to go into a restaurant when they're about 5 minutes due to closing and order something, because they're going to be like, and then throw all that stuff into your food. And then you wonder why, like, you eat the food and you feel aggressive. Well, you want to eat food that is made by happy people for that same reason, because you don't realize how much of the energy your stuff that you're picking up is absorbing from all the things around it. So Tracy says that's why homemade canning is made with love. Yep, 100%. What's funny is my ex used to know this. He's a total muggle, by the way, but he would say, like, I could taste the love that you put into this. And one morning, I was really mad at him, but I still made him breakfast anyway. And he took a bite out of it, and he goes, "This doesn't taste like love." I was like, well, it's not. It's made of frustration. But he literally tasted the difference in my food and was like, there's something wrong with this food. It doesn't taste like love today. Nope, this is frustration food for you today, sir. But this is why you got to be mindful of the things that you're creating. Whenever I make my organite, for example, and I do this just because the man I learned from, Reinhard also does this. He only plays classical music, and he smudges the space, and he sings, and he does high vibe stuff whenever he's making his organite. So no matter what you make, whether you're making art, whether you're making food, whether you're making just anything at all, make sure that you're in a good mood while you make it, because what you're putting into it is all really down to your mood for the day and how you're feeling while you're creating it. Exactly, Leanne. Leanne says that's why you can't duplicate your grandma's food she made for you. Yep, because it was made with love. Shay says, my tummy is super sensitive, and I didn't realize it was the energy in the food. You can Reiki your food. This is one of the best things you can do, actually. My Reiki master who taught me, she Reiki'd absolutely everything she puts on or in her body. She'll Reiki her lotion before she puts it on. She'll Reiki her water before she drinks it. She Reikis her food. She Reikis absolutely everything before she even brings it into her, onto her body. So in a perfect world, in an ideal situation, we would all be doing the same. Where you're just sending it with love, saying, like, imagine my kombucha is food, right? So you put your hand over it and you say something like, this is only going to benefit me to my highest good. I fill this drink with love and light and blah, blah, blah. Whatever you want to put in there. Love, light, and healing. So then you just set your intention, imbue it into the drink. And it's funny because, Masaru Emoto, for those of you who are aware of this, they actually have done studies with this where Masaru Emoto, for example, would take white rice and he put it, he would have one white rice that was left alone, somewhere as like what do they call it? Where they leave it be to see what would happen, right? So then they would take two others. He would take one where he would say nothing but mean things to it, where he would literally yell at the rice. And then he would do another one where he would say only nice things, like, thank you, rice. I love you, rice. And within, like, I think it was 2-3 days, the rice that he was talking negative to, that was like, I hate you, you're awful rice, you're disgusting, all those things you'd saying to it, that rice turned black. And the same thing happens with water molecules. If you take water molecules in a glass of water and you say things like, you are ugly water, you are nasty water, you're dirty water, and then you take that water and then you freeze it, right? You freeze a few droplets from it, and the droplets end up being like freaky. They're weird looking. They're all distorted. They don't look like they have any particular pattern to them. They're all over. So then if you actually take the same water and you say things like, I love you, water. Thank you, water. You give me the best feeling, water. I'm so happy that you're here, water, blah, blah, blah. Say nice things to it. And then you go and freeze it and you look and you get beautiful crystalline patterns in the water. So really, this goes to show with everything that you're creating. So if you're creating some food, if you're creating art, if you're creating anything at all, you're putting your energy into it. So this is why, you should never make food when you're angry. You should never, if you're in a bad mood, you shouldn't go and create some Reiki. You shouldn't be doing Reiki on people. All kinds of things. You have to make sure that you're in a high vibe state before you go and create things. Otherwise, you're going to create things with negative juju attached to it. And you don't want to do that. Same with houseplants. Yes, houseplants is also a big thing. If you say really nice things to your plants, and it's really funny too, because the soul guides have actually said this to it. This has actually been advice for aftercare for people, where they actually suggested buying a plant, like a money plant, for example. Like, let's say you're having a really bad time financially. So you go out and you buy a money plant, right? And you can put some coins in there, some feng shui coins or whatever. They really just said coins. Feng shui coins work even better. And then you start giving that plant love. You give it love, you give it affection, you play music for it. You end up treating that plant how you would want to be treated. And that actually ends up manifesting your abundance for you. It's like you're nurturing something that is symbolic to yourself, right? So the more you nurture the plant, it's more like you're symbolically nurturing yourself. And you're giving that impression upon this plant, where the love that you're giving yourself is also the love you're giving to the plant. And you'd be surprised how much this actually will work on growing back your finances. It's amazing. So, and then after a while, your little money plants will start making babies, right? You give those away. You give those babies to other people. I gave one to my mom a few weeks ago, and I was like, my abundance is getting better. I have no need for extra abundance, so I will actually give this abundance to you. And they said, there's different kinds of money plants, for the record. There's tons of different kinds of money plants out there. So just Google money plants. The one I'm using is it's like a coin plant, if you know what I mean. The leaves look like little coins. I forget what the actual specific name of it is, but they just call it a money plant. Krista says, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with Astra. Is it a community? I would like to join your chat Thursday. That'd be wonderful, Krista. Hang on a second. So we created an online community called Astara. So it's called the Astara community. You can sign up. You get a week free, by the way. So if you want, you can even watch for free for those of you who'd like to join. It's $18 a month just to help us cover all of our cool things that we're doing and building. So yeah, make sure you check it out. There's all kinds of wonderful things on there on the metaphysical side. You have the community side. And then we also have the directory side. So we have the community side for people who are trying to learn and practice and do all kinds of new exciting things. And then we have the directory side, which is for practitioners, people who are, looking to offer some kind of a metaphysical business. Michelle says, my money plant has so many babies. Time to start gifting, Michelle. Because remember, what you gift out, you receive back. So if you start blessing others, you are bringing more blessings to yourself. And you know what's funny? We've noticed that when we do a pro bono clearing first, our other clearings tend to go more smoothly. Isn't that funny? It's like once you give a little, you receive better. So one of the best things you can do, for example, like let's say you're working on Reiki and you're giving yourself Reiki, one of the best things you can do is to send Reiki to somebody else first before you give it to yourself. And it actually increases how much of your own healing you get. So it's always more powerful to give before you receive. Like I don't even know how that really works, but it's like what you send out, you receive back, if you know what I mean. So if you're sending out positive energy to people, if you're sending out blessings, you get more blessings in return. Love you, Kara. Thanks for being here this morning. And I will, thank you. Lovely suggestion. Rebecca says, so this is why I don't cook. My gardening sucks and my home doesn't give hospitality. It's me. I'm not negative. I'm blah. Does anyone have any loving advice for me? I've been in the state for a year, but I'm trying. I'm just drunk now because I caved in. We've all been there, Rebecca. In fact, it's like you get stuck in a rut for so long and it's really hard to kind of remove yourself from that rut. But I feel what most of the time what we're dealing is something we call the dark night of the soul. And it can be very different depending on the person. If you Google dark night of the soul, you'll see a whole lot of videos and talks and articles about it, but it really just means that you are kind of off your path in life. That there are certain things that we're being led to do, right? And if you don't do those things, then you end up going completely off of your chosen plan. It does kind of make you feel lost and like you're stuck in a rut, like you have found yourself in a hole that you aren't really sure how to dig out of. And unfortunately, some of these things, they can last the whole rest of your lifetime if you don't ever dig yourself out. So waiting in the hole, unfortunately, isn't an option, if you know what I mean. Otherwise, you'll just get buried. They'll just, you know what I mean, throw the proverbial dirt over you. Because that's what life does, unfortunately. When we get stuck in a rut, life moves on around us. So I really do feel that one of the best ways that you can, and sounds horrible of me to say this, but meditation is actually a really good way of connecting. Because one of the things that happens when you end up in one of these dark night of the soul situations is we lose track of the guidance. We always have guides around us. Our guides are always with us, funnily enough, even though we may feel like we're completely alone sometimes. These things are actually, once you can get through it, you'd be amazed at how much progress you can make. So one of the best ways to kind of get out of this stuck in a rut thing is to change your way of responding to things. Because a lot of times we end up brushing things off. We have opportunities that come our way. We just don't feel like dealing with it. We brush it off, that sort of thing. There's a lot of different things that I did that kind of made it seem like I was actually digging my holes in deeper rather than climbing out of the hole, if you know what I mean. So one of the best things I feel you can do is you can ask your soul guides for help. Most of them, and this is something that I've found very frustrating, I must admit, they will not help us if we don't ask for help. They will leave us stuck in the hole for as long as we feel we need to be down there. And they were not going to throw down a ladder until we ask for it. So we must ask for help. That's one of the first things, is to ask our higher self and our soul guides to try and give us some guidance. And the next best thing you can do is to follow your highest excitement. The things that you feel are, worth waking up for in the morning. There's a lot of us that don't even feel like waking up in the morning sometimes. We feel tired, we feel exhausted, we feel burned out, we feel fed up. And so I was also one of those people where it was hard for me to even get out of bed in the morning. But there's little things that you can do, whether or not it's just going outside, spending some time outside, just sitting outside in the grass for a few minutes every day, because that will actually help to ground you. A lot of people are not grounded. And if they're not grounded, they're not connected to themselves. They're not connected to the world around them. They're not connected to their guides. So one of the main things you can do is just start looking after your self-care. Start grounding yourself. Start eating healthier. Start making sure that you go to bed at an earlier time. I know it's not easy, especially when we get sucked into social media. But another thing that I've noticed, I'm helping another friend who is dealing with a dark night of the soul situation right now. And his biggest problem is the entertainment that he sits with. He spends all day sitting in front of his TV watching things like Law and Order and Special Victims Unit, stuff like that, you know, these crime dramas. He loves crime dramas. It's been his whole weekend sitting in his house watching crime dramas. And I'm like, you know, this is only going to keep you in a victim mindset. You actually have to kind of change the things you're absorbing before you can change the things you're giving out, if you know what I mean. So I feel like one of the best things you can do is to spend more time in nature, to spend more time alone with your own self, sitting in your own energy, trying to connect to your soul guides, to your soul team. And to also be mindful of the entertainment that you're getting there, because unfortunately, if you sit there all day watching stuff that makes you feel like your life isn't going to get better, then it's not. So, or drugs, yeah, that's another big one, Ishmael, that a lot of people, because escapism, it's not even just the drugs, it's the escapism. So it's not even, some people don't even escape with drugs. Some people escape, yeah, with alcohol, but that's still a drug. Some people escape through food. Some people escape through porn and other self-gratifying things. Some people just sit there and veg out in front of a TV. And they just sit there, you know, for hours watching TV and kind of like this vegetable state. Some people even go to the gym, exactly, Ray, and then just spend all their time beating themselves up physically. You know, there's a lot of different ways that people process when they go through these things. So I think one of the best things you can do is to try and turn off any screens that you may have around you too, because these things totally get in the way of our healing. TV is one of the worst things that you can do when you're trying to get out of a rut, because it is escapism. You're quite literally just spending all of your time focusing on mindless fluff rather than actually working your way through towards a goal. So that's a great suggestion, Erica. If there's a nice lake that you can sit at, if there's a nice botanical garden, that's a beautiful suggestion. Sometimes the gym is actually really good for you too. Getting exercise, getting out physically is actually a really good way to start changing it too, because a lot of time we get stuck in our own mind. So yeah, even though the gym could actually be some way that a lot of people deflect it, it's actually kind of a good thing to do sometimes, to try and get working things out physically. And you know what's funny? One of my favorite quotes, I forget who said it, but it says, before you go and diagnose yourself as clinically depressed, first make sure you're not, in fact, just surrounded by assholes. I forget who said that quote, but it's definitely one of my favorite quotes of all time. And for the reason for that is because there's so many people out there that feel that their life sucks and they're stuck in a rut, when really they're just spending time around other people who feel that their lives suck and that they're stuck in a rut. So when your friends are stuck in a rut, it's easy to fall into their rut, if you know what I mean. So sometimes just having positive people around that you can go and spend time with, that you can, you know, just go and get a higher vibe off of, can make a world of difference. So just the most important thing is that you know you're not alone in this, because there are so many people that have been through this, myself included. I have put so many hours into the video games, I can't begin to tell you. Oh man, I probably spent at least 3 solid years of my life playing video games. If you were to add it all up, between all the times, all the hundreds of hours I spent on Skyrim, all the hundreds of hours I spent on Call of Duty and all of these things, it was all 100% escapism. I didn't like being here, so I put myself in there, if you know what I mean. So we all have different ways of kind of avoiding the problem. And so just being able to identify that you're in that situation that you have to actually move through is a huge first step, because most people don't even realize it. Most people are so used to being in that rut, they've decorated it. they've made a house in that rut, and they're content with living in their little rut house. But for those of us that are actually here to try and evolve our consciousness and trying to heal our past and trying to make the world a better place than we found it, we're not going to do that by escaping, unfortunately. So this is why, unfortunately, this is why we have a lot of work to do, and we got a lot of catching up to do. And man, if I could get that time back, I would go back. I'd probably be like 33 years old all of a sudden. If I could get all of that video gaming time back. Not to say that I didn't have an amazing time and made a lot of friends and had a great experience through it, but at the same time, that's not why I was here. That's not why I've chosen to have this incarnation. And funnily enough, here I am. Like the other day, I was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I'm like riding around through ancient Greece, and I'm like, man, I miss this place. Like, I still do it. I still go and escape every once in a while just to kind of defrag and make myself feel better about the fact that I'm actually not in that situation. Exactly, Ray. The lesson is to use your time wisely, 100%. So this is something I'm still learning. I'm still working on. And it doesn't help that you guys have noticed that the days do not feel like they're 24 hours anymore. For some reason, like time doesn't exist, obviously, and time is relative, but I don't know why, but the days feel like they're 16 hours rather than 24 hours. Like they feel so much shorter. And maybe it's because I'm trying to cram in so much stuff. But it really does feel like we don't have all the time that we used to. Wasting time used to be one of my favorite things. I would, and then my day be gone, and I'm like, oh, cool, the day's over. Now I'm like, fuck, where did my day go? I could have done so much more with it. Like, it's so funny how things are changing and how much we're actually trying to be smart about time management. Speaking of time management, I've been sitting here rambling for over 90 minutes now. I should let you guys go on with your day. I love you guys very much. And I don't even know who my guest is tomorrow. Where's my phone? I threw it across the room. Let's see. Who is my guest tomorrow? I don't even know. Christopher set up all kinds of wonderful things for me while I was gone. Thank you, Christopher. Let's see. Tia Carroll will be on my podcast tomorrow. How exciting! Looking forward to it. Yay! So make sure that you guys go and visit with Loy today. Set your times on your alarms or whatever you got to do, because Loy is going to be doing her Magical Mindful Mondays today at 1:11 today. So make sure that you give a chat with Loy. You can go and get a free clearing. A free reading is what I meant to say. Jeez, my brain. On Wednesday, we have a podcast with Angelica. So we'll get to say hi to Angelica and Siddhartha on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, see what I mean about my brain today? It is not working. Tracy will be back on the podcast. So we'll get to have a nice chat with Tracy. And 6th, Thursday the 6th is the Chen Chat. We'll be talking about soul contracts. So for those of you who are also, we'll do a clearing on contracts as well. So that way, if you guys have any ancestral karmic contracts or any dark contracts or any imposter soul guides or any of that funky stuff, Chen and we will clear it out on Thursday for you. So make sure that you don't miss that, okay? That'll be Thursday, 1 p.m. on Astara. And I think Friday I have a solo podcast. I've been trying to keep the podcast solo. Oh, nope. I have a podcast with Sarah Jane Patton on Friday. Wonderful. So that'll be fun. Perfect. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. I will see you all with Miss Tia tomorrow. And I'm excited to have Siddhartha on the podcast Wednesday. That'll be great. So lots of exciting things happening. Thank you so much for spending your morning with me, you guys. I love you all so much. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye, guys.